Hello to all the Atlanta United fans. My name is Jurgen Damm, and you are watching Scarves and Spike, an Atlanta United podcast.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of Scarves and Spikes. Tyler and Henry here with you guys tonight as we dive into some Leagues Cup Atlanta United action, or lack thereof, lack of finishing. And we got Jake Zivin, good friend of the show, coming on later to kind of chat about Leagues Cup as a whole, Atlanta, kind of as a whole, their transfer window, and get you guys prepped for this weekend as the Leagues Cup journey continues for the Five Stripes. Henry, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. I mean, it might be a very short Leagues Cup journey for Atlanta. It always is. But you know what? It's been the season, hasn't it? Especially this last game was kind of it was kind of the epitome of the season, if you think about it. Just not enough for the whole game. Just not enough. And it was just disappointing. I have no other words for that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I gotta stir my drink a little bit.
What are we having?
It's like a rum. It's almost like it's actually like the original recipe for a daiquiri, like the old school with like essentially simple syrup and crushed ice and rum. So anyway,
all right,
yeah, that's where I'm at. That's where Atlanta has driven me to. Yeah, no, I mean, I guess, yeah, to dive into it, like it was, we talked about it on the takeaways last night. It was kind of more of the same with Atlanta United, unfortunately. It is, I think, kind of indicative. There's so many little, I think, bubbles within the game that are indicative of how this entire season has gone. You are so close as a team to looking not just competent, but really good. You know, you have moments where you're playing through pressure. You have moments where you're really, really getting into the final third almost at will. Then you get into the final third and you can't do anything. You can't finish chances. You're struggling to finish chances. And then everything falls apart and you just die defensively. And that's quite literally been the story of the season for Atlanta United. So, yeah, I mean, it's frustrating because last night that was a winnable game.
Absolutely.
Necaxa came out very, very, I think, hot. They had their pressure, but that pressure quickly died off. Atlanta, you know, kind of handled the wave. They gave up a dinky goal, but like, you know, that's almost to be expected as well. But then they dove in and they played, I would say, after that 65 minutes of pretty good football.
I'll agree. I mean, look, conceding the goal that you conceded was very unfortunate. It feels like this team has just conceded a whole reel of terrible goals to concede. But for me, it was they started the game positively, right? They were on the front foot. And I even turned to you and I said, I remember in the press box, I was like, you know, they don't look that bad. I mean, Necaxa doesn't look really dominant right now, and really they weren't. Atlanta at the end of the game still dominated in shots. They were still creating more chances, and it's just a matter of Necaxa took their chances when they had them and were just more clinical. Atlanta wasn't, and that's been the story of the season, is these high value attacking players not living up to their price tag, not really putting the ball in the back of the net, which is what this team needs. So, yeah, it's very disappointing, and I don't know what else they can do because, again, it feels like they're doing a lot of the right things because they're creating the chances. And then I don't know if it's like luck, if it's, they're in their heads, if it's just that they can't finish. I don't even know anymore what's going on, but it's a mystery to me how this team is not scoring more goals than it is right now.
Yeah, it kind of feels like a confidence issue. And we kind of talked about it a little bit, but you've got Miguel Almiron who hit every space and pocket of air around the outside of all three posts and just couldn't, and even hit the post at one point, but just couldn't put it in. And then you have Latte Lath, who is put on behind the center backs by a beautiful ball by Miggy. And I mean, he has the jump. He has everything you want as a striker, as a fast striker. And he just, I don't know if it was a weird touch, second guessing his decision making, whatever, but he cuts it back, and that cut back, the defender is able to get a toe to it, pops it loose, and there goes the entire play. And it's just moments like that where you just get frustrated, man, because it's again $22 million, and there's a lot of pressure riding on $22 million. I get that, but that was one of the things that we asked Latte Lath at the very first press conference was, what type of pressure does this put on you? And he said, it's not lost on me that I am this league's biggest incoming transfer fee. I get that, but I'm going to go play my ball. And his ball has been very successful. But right now, it's just you talk about having the yips, being in a slump, whatever. That is Latte Lath, and it's Miggy, to be fair. Alexei Miranchuk, for all the criticism he receives from everywhere, us, everybody, he's been the most effective on paper of all three DPs. Now, it's not taking away Miggy and maybe some of the individual stuff that he does, but for the individual stuff that he does, he's still getting dispossessed in some odd places, some dangerous places. Like, he's not being perfect. So it's just you've yet to see those three really connect the way that they're supposed to.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, and again, I've been super critical of Alexei Miranchuk, but for me right now, he's the best designated player on the roster right now. He's the one that's performing. He's got, I believe it's 3 goals in his last 4 games is what he's at right now. I mean, that's what we've been asking for, right? Goal contributions from this guy who he brought in last summer for a pretty big fee, I would say. 13 million is a sizable fee.
A chunk of change.
Yeah, and so at least that's somewhat good news. And then him and Miggy have been pairing up very nicely. They've had some good sequences when getting forward in the attack. I think they understand each other a little bit more at this point in the season. And so certainly I think that's a positive. But yeah, I mean, you still have a long way to go, right? Because we're talking about a guy who on paper should be one of the best wingers in the league, right? In Miguel Almiron. He was one of the best attacking players in the league 6 years ago. He goes off to the Premier League. He should not come back worse. He is older, yes, but clearly he still has ability. I mean, he shows it. He could still dribble. He's still got a little bit of pace. But man, it feels like he's lost his shooting boots. The guy cannot put a shot on target. The one that he did put on target was called back. That's how unlucky I think he's also been this season, is that one goal, which would have been a freaking banger, which he went and pulled like 7 FIFA celebrations off for just to have it called back. You know, that's the one that gets called back. So it's unfortunate. But yeah, them and then Latte Lot for me, I mean, that's $22 million down the drain right now. He's not really doing much of anything. For me, from my point of view, I think he checks back a little bit too much. He keeps acting like more of a target forward, and that's just not who he is. He needs to be one of the guys that is just kind of hanging off the shoulder of the last defender, preparing to spring forward instead of being all the way back at center circle trying to play in his teammates. That's not the striker he's in. That's not what he was brought in to be. He was brought in to be the guy that could run onto these balls. And then he's gotten those chances at times, and he just doesn't do anything with them. He can't put them away. Sometimes he doesn't even get a shot off, which is what infuriates me the most. Like, how are you the most expensive striker in the league, the most expensive player in the league? You can't really get your shots off. You don't really know what to do in the box. And so whether it's the yips or whether it's, something else, he needs to get his act together, because this is shaping up to be one of the, I guess I'm gonna go ahead and say it. This is shaping up to be one of the worst signings in Atlanta United history, as far as a DP, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, right now that's the thing. That's the entire season. I want to hit on a handful of the comments in the chat as I kind of go back in the back scroll. We'll start back with Jordan. Latte Loth on the season, 7 goals. We know this. Expected goals of 8.29, which isn't that much better. I think like that needs to be higher as well. 46 shots. And every one of the goals have come pretty well within the box, which again, as a striker, I'm not too upset about that, but I have harped over and over again about, Atlanta, some of these players they need to start taking shots from, the edge of the box, like just outside the box. Like they have the talent to put them away. And I just want to see more of that confidence, because they have it. They've exhibited the talents there. You have to go and show it. You can't tiki-taka your way into the box every single play. It is where Atlanta United's attacks are going to die at this point. So jumping back to Jordan, he was saying, and this is so true, we've said this so much, Atlanta was the better team last night for 3/4 of the match, but Atlanta can't finish, and it's depressing, which is true. And I know we're beating the dead horse with that one, but it's absolutely true. Goat Soccer asking this: would Jaden Hibbert have stopped any of those 3 goals last night?
Ugh. I mean, I definitely don't think he's stopping the second one. That set piece, I don't think any goalkeeper's stopping.
Banger. There's nothing. Yeah,
that's on defenders not jumping again. I don't blame that on the goalkeeper. The third one is a little bit tricky to me, because he receives the ball basically, if I'm remembering correctly, he receives the ball almost in front of the 6-yard box, right? It's just a really good through ball, and he receives it like just outside of the 6-yard box. That's really hard for any goalkeeper to really keep out. I mean, I suppose if you're fast enough and you can close him down, but that was just instantaneous. I mean, bang, boom, he has it and he scores. So I'm gonna say no. I don't think he saves the third one. The first one, maybe. It's a weird goal, because I'm gonna try to describe this as best I can, but there's a pass from kind of the other side of the box. It comes to the far post, right? To a guy that's there, and he hits it. It hits the crossbar, and I think it goes in off of Guzan's back, right?
Yeah. Yep, as he's diving for it.
So
he's in the air like a whale.
Yeah. He's like trying to dive to get it, and then doesn't get it, and instead it bounces off of him into the goal. So for me, it's hard to say that Hibbert would get that. I mean, I guess if he doesn't jump for it, maybe it doesn't hit his back. It's hard to say that. It's a trick question, I think, but I don't know. The only way that I would see Jaden stopping it is if his reaction is fast enough to like fingertip it over the bar instead of it hitting the bar.
Yeah. I think, and we'll caveat real quick to just kind of discuss that goal before we continue on down the chat. But it was a weird sequence, because in the buildup, and to answer the question, I think, look, Brad Guzan, I know people have their opinions about him. I don't think he's been a bad goalkeeper this year. I mean, a lot of the goals that have gone against Atlanta, including the ones last night, I put that on the center back. The defense as a whole, really, not just the center backs. The defense as a whole has been interesting, to say the least. And then you take into account kind of what Ronnie Dyla said and Brad Guzan both said kind of about the fitness level of some players, and it calls into question a lot of things about the way that the back line has been. But beyond that, so this goal, you have an Necaxa player essentially take a shot, and Derek Williams, I think, is going down for a block, and he's sliding essentially, kind of puts his hand up in front of his face, right? And if he doesn't put his hand up in front of his face, he gets blasted in the face with a ball that literally is on a trajectory for a shot on goal. And that's not going to be fun. Now, do I think that his hand was in an unnatural position? Not really. I would do the same thing if I had a soccer ball traveling, 45 miles an hour at my face. Natural reaction, whatever. It hits his hand, it hits his arm and deflects, and then it kind of goes out for another sequence where that ball that you said is put in to a player who is in an offside position. And then that is what kind of ends up with the ball hitting the post, bouncing off Guzan, and kind of trickling in. I believe the way that this, because they spent like 5 minutes on VAR for this crap, and it was kind of ridiculous. I think, and the way that I understand the rules, and I think I understand them pretty well, and I'm not going to sit here and claim I'm a referee or anything, but the ball hit his hand. We know this, so that's a handball. If that's what you're going to call it, fine, handball. Then the offside part happens. If the handball happened before, the offside's negated, and everything after that should be negated, including the goal, right? So if you're going to check VAR, you look at the VAR and you can see clearly the guy is offside. So you either have to pick, either he's offside and this whole play doesn't count, or he's not offside and then the handball and the goal itself gets called into question. So what it came down to was the handball itself. Since the other part happened after that, you should then negate the goal and give a penalty for a handball in the box. And that is not what happened. Instead, the handball happened. The goal itself was scored by an offside player, and they still gave the goal and said, whatever, we don't care about the handball or the offside. Like it was just
that was badly handled, in my opinion.
It was incredibly confusing for anybody that was like paying attention. And it was just terribly handled. Like, and I'm not going to sit here and try to be like, oh, Atlanta lost the game because of this. No, like that's not a thing. I'm just like, that's bad refereeing. That's terrible.
Yeah. It wasn't the only bad call in the game. It wasn't the only bad call in the game, but
no,
I'm not going to sit here and complain about the referees when this whole season has been really just a matter of Atlanta not being good enough. And this game also, I mean, you had so many chances to score. You had so many chances to give yourself a better score line, and you didn't take those chances. And then in essence, you kind of gifted, I mean, those 2 goals at the end were really bad on Atlanta's part. The first goal, not the first goal, the second goal never should have happened because Derek Williams he is caught napping. He plays a hospital ball back to Mihai, who then has to go and save his butt by a really clutch tackle, by the way. Huge
incredible
credit
tackle.
to Nia Mihai.
And it was one of those where you hear, if you're going to go to the ground in the box, you better know what you're doing.
Exactly. And he knew what he was doing. He got the ball. It was a very clean tackle. And unfortunately, didn't really end up mattering because they scored on the ensuing corner kick because we cannot defend set pieces. So, again, that, and then how does a guy receive the ball at the edge of the 6-yard box with everyone around him? Like there were 5 Atlanta players around him. How do you let him get the ball there? So that's why I think like those are 2 very crap goals to concede after you've been dominant for most of the rest of the game, I want to say. So that's just the disappointing part. It's not on the referee.
No.
right? To me, that game was definitely not on the referee, but the calls were questionable. And that first goal, by the way, we asked tons of players about it, and they also had no idea what the heck happened.
No clue.
So yeah, we were in the press box like, what is going on? How does this make sense? Guys, it doesn't. But that's kind of the hand that we were dealt, I guess. Yeah.
Yellow card to the ref. But you have no leg to complain if you're Atlanta United because you're shooting yourself in the foot. That's at the end of the day, that's what's happening. So but I felt like it did need to be talked about because it was just a weird set of events in the game. And I don't know that anybody was able to get a straight answer. Like you said, we asked last night. It was nobody. I mean, essentially everybody had the same explanation of what they thought should have happened is what I've just said, is what we both just said. Like, probably should have been a penalty. Brad Guzan even said it. It should have been a penalty, but whatever. So Dylan's saying just fine. Chucky by his stats is like Boca signing Derek Etienne after his one good season. I think, to be fair, Dylan, we're not justifying anything about it, like, because this is one bubble of a couple of games in an entire season of mediocrity. I don't even know
if he goes on in like the last like 10 games of the season, he just starts scoring and assisting and just turns into the best chance creator in the league, we might have to reevaluate our position. But yeah, I mean, a couple games, it barely moves the needle for me. So he's gonna have to keep that up. That's the magic, I guess, is consistency, which has consistently eluded this team for the past 5 years.
Just a little bit. And about Latte Latho, more saying dude needs a vacation. Just let him go for a couple weeks, get him the right headspace, have him come back for the last few games and get to work.
Sure.
I mean,
I'm so done with him right now.
I know you are.
It's just infuriating when you're watching him from the press box and you're just like, what did they pay $22 million for? I mean, Rob Usry tweeted out like, hey, they paid $22 million for an Adam John regen, and at this point, it kind of looks like it. I mean, where's his finishing? Where is the super fast striker that we were promised in preseason? Right? I think part of it is the confidence. I think part of it's also that I think he's one of the players that's kind of given up on the season a little bit, because I just don't see him really fighting for it. I don't really see him putting as much in as some of the other players. For me, when Jamal Tiare was on, he played, I think, until like the 65th minute, which was when all those 4 subs happened. He put in a very good shift. He was pressing. He was going forward. He showed energy. Latte Lot came on for the last 30 minutes and did not show that, in my opinion. He did not really look like a guy that was, motivated and going to try to, help this team win a game. Just didn't look like it to me. And then the opportunity that he got, completely wasted it. And so, to me, he's been very disappointing this season. And it's a shame because this team went out and got 2 designated players in the last window, and that was the really the only big thing of that window was getting the 2 designated players, and both of them are really underperforming. And so, if you look back, this team hasn't really changed since last season. Because what else happened? You got Mateus Kleek, who's now off the roster. Will Riley is really the only good acquisition you had over the winter.
That's come to fruition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe Miggy gets good, and to be honest, his presence in the attack, if you take away just his inability to shoot for some reason, he's been positive, but I still feel like for that money and that salary, you probably could have gotten a better player.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You just have to hope that all of this, it's more of a couple of things need to be switched, tweaked, players in, players out kind of situation, as opposed to just chalking those up as a bust. And to be fair, with the way the entire team has been this season, I mean, you have to give all of the DPs, I think, a little bit more time to come good.
2 to 3
while you
windows. Sorry.
Yeah, 2 more windows. While you build everything and get it built right around them. But at that point, man, like you're running out of time. Like everybody is running out of time if you can't get it right. If you cannot get your DPs involved heavily in your games to where they're truly effective. And I understand that not everything is about goals and assists. I get that more than anybody. Right now, Luke Brennan is getting shafted because he has been one of the best players on the team in the past few matches and doesn't have a whole lot to show for it in terms of stuff on paper, but he has been absolutely crucial in the goals that have been scored for Atlanta. So, we'll see. And some of the comments like Omar saying, and this is true, this is the same thing that happened with Yorgos Yakimakis when he came in. Latte Loss been playing soccer nonstop since August of last year. That's what happens when with the transfer window and the schedule the way that it is. If you do go out and get a big signing from somewhere like Europe, there's a chance that they're just playing nonstop soccer for a while until that next offseason. That's a long time. And Colonel saying Alexi's closer to getting good than Miggy. I think, and this will be a good way to kind of segue into the comment from Dyla last night, as we have a Pumas fan in here. Cross, let's go Pumas. No, let's not go Pumas.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But Ronnie Dyla said last night, and we've talked about this, and I was really happy that he brought it up. The kind of trio of Miguel Almiron, Ronald Hernandez, and Alexei Miranchuk has been pretty good. The way that they have been able to play through that right flank has changed a lot in the way that this team attacks. They look cohesive. They look like they have chemistry. I feel like you're playing, EAFC and you're setting up the team and you've got the lines and they're all green and it's great. Whereas, with Brooks Lennon there at the right back position, you don't have that. You haven't seen it all season when he's been starting there, but you put Ronald in there and you can tell off the field, Ronald Hernandez and Miguel Almiron, they're buddies. They hang out with each other. Jordan saying Ronald was phenomenal the last 2 matches. I agree. And Ronnie Dyla touched on it last night. He said that as far as like the way that Miggy has progressed, there are things that he's doing that essentially, and then I'm paraphrasing here, are habits from Newcastle and from Paraguay, where he plays a little deeper, he does things a little bit differently, and now he's having to transition back to a different role with Atlanta United. And simple things like, really, really pushing himself into the box, getting involved in the attack in the box, and being unafraid to take shots and things like that. That's all helped this trio kind of have the space to operate over there, while Alexi is also making more forward runs than we've seen him do all season. Ronald Hernandez is a true, north-south wingback. He will make the overlapping, underlapping, whatever run he needs to make to free up space for Miggy and or Alexi or whoever happens to be over there at the time. That's what you want to see out of a team. That's what you want to see out of these little groups of individual, maybe trios or duets or whatever within the actual 11 that's on the pitch. You kind of see the same thing on the other side with Luke Brennan. Pedro Amador, in my opinion, has not been great.
Agreed.
That kind of chemistry that we talked about on the right side is not the same on the left side, but you're getting something else out of Luke Brennan that you haven't got out of a left winger for Atlanta United in like 3 years. So that's where things are improving, but it's still not a full product yet.
Yeah, it still has a little bit to go. I mean, going back to what you said about the chemistry on the right side, it's really effective because a big focus there is the overlap that's created between Miggy and Ronald Hernandez. And it helps when you have those guys just moving the ball quickly and Ronald Hernandez going over and kind of, he's unpredictable because with Brooks, you know what Brooks Lennon's going to do, right? You know who's going to cross the ball. And I think a lot of defenders know that now. Ronald, you don't know. He might stop and play it back to Miggy. He might cut back to Alexi. He might try to dribble into the box. I think he just gives you a little bit more unpredictability than Brooks Lennon does. And I think also the fact that he and Miggy understand each other is very good, because suddenly y'all are putting together these really good sequences and moving the ball into dangerous areas. And you don't really need to get to the 6 yard box. You can put the ball really anywhere close to the edge of the box. And if Alexei Miranchuk is there, he can shoot from there. He's got a good shot on him. And so just start getting those shots away, start putting them on frame, and something will happen. As far as the other side, Luke Brennan is the first winger in a while that Atlanta United's had that seems to consistently be able to beat defenders on the dribble. He was doing it in this game. He was doing it in the last game. Just really, really taking on defenders 1v1 and finding success. And then being very intelligent with the ball, because his decision making in the final third is refreshing, in the sense that we haven't really seen truly good decision making from some other players this season. He finds these really good passes in the last game. In the Seattle game, he found Latte Lot for that own goal. And it was the same ball that he played this time to Muyumba in the build-up to Atlanta's goal this last game. Same exact pass. Right in between the defenders, threaded in the space. I don't know why Muyumba was shooting there. I feel like he could have gone for a cutback. That's probably what he should have done. But it goes off the keeper, and Alexei's there to stab it in. Fine, whatever. But the main idea there, I think, is to cut it back. And so that's kind of what Diala's system aims to do, from what I analyzed of him before the season started. It has a lot to do with cutbacks, and this team doesn't really execute cutbacks well for some reason. That's been a major factor in why the finishing just hasn't been there, because sometimes you have the ball in good positions, but not great positions. Cutback puts you in a great position because you're like in front of goal. Sometimes the cutbacks are played and they're like right behind the guy, so that isn't good, or they get intercepted. That's something that they have to work on, but I certainly think that there are building blocks there. There are very good things that we are seeing, a lot of positives. But yeah, still have a long way to go, and hopefully whatever additions they make in this window, whatever other additions, because they've already made several, and then whatever happens in the winter, I think that's going to be very key to what we potentially see from this team going forward.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that comes down to kind of like you said, that full-on decision-making in the box, which I will say I think it's gotten marginally better, but it's not anywhere where it needs to be. And to me, the build-up has improved a lot. And again, talking about Ronald, and Ronald has been has kicked off a whole bunch of the chat. Ariel saying, with that trio working well together, I want to see Ronald play a Hakimi type of fullback. I would love for anybody on this team to play a Hakimi type of fullback, but I agree. Yeah, I think what you get out of Ronald, and look, Ronald is a divisive player for this team, but Jordan kind of saying after that, though, Ronald has played with more heart, passion, physicality than just about everyone. And yeah, there's more talented fullbacks, but who's delivering those balls over the top, things like that? I agree. I mean, I think Ronald Hernandez is one of those who he has been used as a weird jack of all trades for this team over the past few years. But that man, if you were to cut him open, he would bleed Atlanta United colors. And I don't just mean red. It's got a little morbid. But no, I mean, the guy, he loves this club. He really does. Talking to him at the training ground, talking to him in the locker room, he loves Atlanta. And he's talented. I mean, he's very good with both feet. He needs to play on the right. I mean, he gets shafted and moved to the left a lot under both Gonzalo Pineda and, to a degree, Ronnie Dyla. But, I mean, he's very effective when he's on the right. Defensively, I think he's a step up from Brooks Lennon. He's
like 10 steps in front of Brooks Lennon. Oh my gosh, dude. I cannot see him on the field anymore because I just feel like he doesn't care sometimes. Do you remember in this game, Atlanta needs a goal, right? You're down a goal at the end of the game. He gets the ball like not anywhere close to like the box, and he just takes a wild freaking shot, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
What is
And
the
it
thought
ended.
process
I
there?
literally saw the shot, and my first thought was Luis Ariza.
What
Young
is
like
the
who?
thought process there? Is this how you're gonna help the team?
Yeah.
I don't get it with him, man. He's been far from the guy that we've known from other seasons where he's arguably been one of the better right backs in the league. And yeah, it's just a disappointing season for him. And it's a shame because he is the club's top assister. And that's still wild to me that we're talking about him in this way at this point of the season. But yeah, he's just been disappointing.
He's also one of the most tenured players on the team right now. And look, as we get Jake in here, I think sometimes I've said it probably every single show that we've done over the past month. Sometimes players just need a change of scenery. It's nothing against them. It's nothing against the team. It's nothing against anybody. It's just complacency sets in. And right now, this Atlanta United team, I think if you could put one word to describe them over the past couple of years, and especially this season, it's complacent. That's just what it looks like. So, all right. As we leave it on that note, and we're all happy now, we get Jake Zivin in.
Hey guys.
What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. I feel like every time I come on this year, I got to be like your therapist, for all the Atlanta fans. Like,
Start
though I
paying
guess
me.
that's probably every guest you've had this year. It's been a tough year. It's perplexing. Still, I'm perplexed by it.
Yeah, it's honestly maddening how like we do this show and we love doing this, but the fact that it's like every single show, multiple times a week, we're like, man, if I could figure this out, I would be a rich person.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like, or you'd be employed somewhere in Major League Soccer for sure. Right.
So how have you been?
Good. Yeah. Enjoying the first couple of days of Leagues Cup. I like this format personally. Obviously not a great start but man, it should have been 3-1 before it was 3-1, right? It should have been 3-1 Atlanta before Necaxa scored their second. It's hard that, like the expected goals bears that out as well, but it's just been that season, hasn't it, for Atlanta United?
Yeah. I mean, what can you do, Jake? Because it feels like they do so many things right in the attack, right? They get the ball forward. They put together some very, very eye-catching sequences. They get the ball in the right spots. And then it's just the final detail that they're missing. It's the shot that goes off the post or just wide. Like, what do you do in those situations?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, right? Like if you're Ronnie Dyla, Chris Henderson, Arthur Blank, you want Miguel Almiron to get in the spots that he was in last night with the ball on his left foot. And one is an incredible save after a deflection, and the other hits the crossbar. And like, what else do you want? I mean, nobody before the season would have said that's not the guy to sign. Of course it's the guy to sign. Bring him back to Atlanta. He gets in those spots last night. It should be 3-1. There's no answer to it, right? Keep doing it for sure. Absolutely keep doing that, right? I mean, if you keep getting Miguel in those spots, that's great for Atlanta United. Sometimes it's just how the season goes, and it seems like the guys haven't clicked at the same time, and Moranchuk's starting to score a little bit. That's good. It's good, right? I mean, last night, he's further forward. He's in the box. He's in an area where the ball can drop to him last night. Yes, it's a tap in, but whatever, you'll take it. And but in the same game when that happens, then Almiron misses two that you'd expect him to score every time, right? And that's the difference. And then it's still 1-1 late, and Necaxa can get a second, and then boom, a third, and all of a sudden you're looking at a 3-1 loss. Whereas if he scores both those and Atlanta's up 3-1 in the 70th minute, whatever it would be, Atlanta's probably starting Leagues Cup with 3 points and feeling really good.
Yeah, 100%. And then you mentioned those two chances specifically, but if you look back, I mean, there were some other they weren't as high percentage chances, but they were things that there were shots that you kind of expect at least to be put on target, and one missed maybe a little wider than the other, but they were close. They were good signs. But at the end of the day,
it doesn't matter. Like, dude,
who cares? Where's the voodoo doll that's hidden in this team?
Exactly. Yeah, it doesn't matter, especially for a team like Atlanta United, right? That it's a team that rightfully expects to compete for trophies every single year. It has been several years since they have done that, which is disappointing. And a team that spends at that level and is ambitious. I mean, like, you can't fault anything other than the execution and maybe the chemistry within the group on the field this year. You know, like, you can't. The team is ambitious. They spend money. Every fan of every supporter of every other MLS team, with the exception of a couple that are spending at a similar level, would love for their teams to drop $50 million in a calendar year. Love on transfer fees. Would love that. But for whatever reason, it just hasn't worked. It's crazy. And you guys were talking just before, you popped me up on camera about complacency, and it's crazy to me that there would be complacency, right? Like, complacent about what? How many guys are left from when the team was really good? Brad, Miguel's back.
Yeah.
Right. Like, that's kind of it. So, and neither of those guys are going to be. I mean, Brad's not complacent. He's the most competitive person that there is. Right. And Miguel, I don't think he doesn't seem like that type either. So, yeah, it's again, for me, it is the biggest surprise of this season, above the LA Galaxy. And I've been saying that since like 4 weeks into the season, and it continues to be the biggest surprise for me in MLS this year. Either way, either good or bad, has been Atlanta's struggles. More surprising than LA Galaxy struggles, more surprising than San Diego and Vancouver and Philadelphia and Nashville's success, to me, is Atlanta United struggles.
Jake, some of the players might be complacent, but I'll tell you some that aren't, the homegrowns. And one of them in particular, Luke Brennan, who has gotten the start last 3 games now. And honestly, I find that when he has the ball, I'm genuinely excited to see what he's going to do with it. 20 years old, and he's doing some really fun stuff in the attack. What are your thoughts on him so far?
I agree. Same thing, right? I mean, he's a player that I obviously didn't see much of before, and he catches your eye. And, it's my old broadcast partner for the Portland Timbers, Ross Smith, who now is paired with Tony Husband on Apple TV. I know he's joined you guys before, and he certainly called Atlanta United games. We used to always kind of talk about this, and we'd have an eye test that, like, when a team would sign a new DP, or even the Timbers would sign a new DP, and we'd see him at training for the first time. Like, that player should catch your eye. There should be something about the player where you're just like, yeah, I'm picking that guy out. And oftentimes in this league, I mean, there have been times when that has not been the case with DPs. We've been calling a team for the first time that season. They've got a new DP, and we're kind of like talking to each other about watching the previous games. And we're like, that. If you didn't tell me that player was a designated player, I would have no idea. Would have never picked him out. And so it goes the other way, right? Like for a player to be excited about a player, no matter if they're a DP or a homegrown or whatever their salary is, they should kind of catch your eye. And I agree, Luke Brennan is. He catches your eye, right? 100%. He's aggressive. He's direct. He's confident. He tries stuff. He's got a spark that it does feel like, this team needed. So, I mean, he was integral on the goal, their only goal, right, against Necaxa, in taking on a couple players and getting the ball into a dangerous spot. So, same in MLS play the past few. So, yeah, I agree. I'm excited to see more of him. And I think he'll probably get chances because, come on, right? I mean, you gotta give at this point, Remy, you saw what they're doing in the back line. I mean, it's clearly internally, it is known that changes have to be made, and guys are going to get chances, I think, in Atlanta.
Yeah. And Dyla, he's talked to us about it a little bit as well, with especially with Luke Brennan and Ronald Hernandez. And Ronald Hernandez has always kind of been that fringe guy who they use everywhere.
It's been around for a while. Yep.
Yeah. And I was talking about it before. I mean, I think, for the guys that have been here who could be complacent, Ronald is not one of them. He loves this team. I said it a minute ago, you cut him open, he's going to bleed Atlanta colors. Like, that's just how he is. And he adds something to the attack. But Ronnie Dyla mentioned that, with some of these changes, with guys like Brooks Lennon maybe not getting the start, with now Luke Brennan, left winger, that situation is a little different because there's not many others on the roster, but like, he's showing out for the time that he's been given. And Ronnie Dyla said, this is an opportunity for these guys to show what they're about. This is their chance. And he said everybody deserves a chance. And I think he's seeing something in some of these guys that normally aren't getting a lot of minutes.
Yeah, that's got to continue, right? And we'll continue to. And look, Ronald Hernandez, every team needs players like that. Is he going to make the difference to turn Atlanta United around? No, and I don't think Luke Brennan is either, right? Luke Brennan can be a good piece, a spark. He can create stuff on the field. But ultimately for Atlanta, it's going to be about Miguel Almiron, Alexei Miranchuk, and Emmanuel Latelot figuring it out and playing like $50 million, collectively, right? As a trio on the field and scoring goals. And defensively, of course, there can be some improvement, and there are new players in the back line. That's tough in the middle of a season to do it with 10 games to go in the regular season, because Leagues Cup might be over for them. I mean, we don't know yet. I'm really intrigued. I've been talking about this for a couple months, just like off the side with friends and group chats. What is the number going to be for that top four? And both in MLS and Leagues Cup, what's the points? I don't think 6 is going to be enough.
No.
So the teams that have already lost, they might be done,
Yeah.
right? And it could, but you need a lot of help. I think it's going to be at least 7, maybe 8, because you get the extra, right? Like the extra point with penalties now gives 8 as a possibility, whereas without that, 8 would not be a possible number to accumulate in 3 games. But you might be 8. I don't think it'll be 9. I think some teams will get through. I don't think there'll be 4 teams with 9. But man, it's interesting. So Atlanta could be done in Leagues Cup, fine. But then MLS play, the focus shifts too, and it's hard with that many games left to change so much on the back line. And kind of the depth pieces of the back line as well, right? Like, are those guys going to be getting chances? Are they going to replace Stian and Derek? We'll see. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting, but they got to figure it out. Again, to me, it's those 3. It's those 3 up front.
Yeah,
they got to figure it out.
Yeah, and I definitely want to, before Henry hops in real quick, I want to, because we're definitely going to dive into Leagues Cup, because I agree with you. I think I put in an article last night after the match over on the website that, with a loss in your first game, with the way that this format is, I mean, your chances now of making it out of the group, because it's a weird name.
Phase 1. Yeah, phase 1.
The phase.
Right, yeah.
Are about as slim as making the playoffs, because that's just how unforgiving this layout is. And I think it's fun in a way, because it kind of pushes emphasis on more goals, because goal differential will absolutely become a thing.
For sure. Yeah, it is. But and it's also almost it's not necessarily a you have to win every game, but I do think it's almost like lose a game and you're out. And that can make for, look, there are going to be some third games of phase 1 that are going to be duds, or maybe not duds in games, but are not going to have anything on the line, because both teams are going to enter that game on, say, 2 points or 1 point or 0 points, and they're going to know they have no chance of finishing top 4. So that's going to happen. But I like that every game is extremely important. And again, at 7, like the teams that got a point last in the first 2 games, I think they still have hope. Finish on 7 and think we could get there. Certainly the teams that I got 2 points that won the penalty shootouts, I think, yeah, okay, we get to 8, we're fine. We that could advance us for sure. We have hope. But the teams that lost, maybe not. And so I love that. I love that jeopardy of it. I think it makes every game so urgent at the end, to try to at least avoid losing. Lose and you're out. Is kind of a nice format for a tournament. They could have done 8 on each side, and then that would be more forgiving. And you'd go to a round of 16 instead of straight to a quarterfinals. But also, I think they wanted to shorten it up a little bit, and really have high stakes. Because I also think in the past 2 years, the groups of 3 where 2 teams advanced to a round of 32 was also too forgiving. It was almost too much. So yeah, I don't mind that. And yeah, for Atlanta, it's hard, right? And 14 points back it is in the league, right, from the line.
Yeah.
It's
going
to be a tough few months
either.
Yeah, ever, right? Which is, sorry. You should have. We did the multiple. The Miami game was a very difficult one. Messi's second ever game. Atlanta did not show up. And then the DC game last year that went to penalties was not a great showing for Atlanta United. I think there were some missed penalties in that game, if I remember right. Maybe
Bartosz Slisz missed
Did
2.
Bartosz miss 2? Yeah. Bartosz missed 2. One in the shootout and one in
regular time
that would have won it, right?
Yeah.
Well, would have put them ahead.
So,
yeah,
it's just brutal, man.
It's tough.
But yeah, that's kind of how it's going. But we talked about this team needing changes, right? And it looks like some changes have been happening. At least Atlanta United has been active on the
Mhm.
transfer window. Already have a couple signings, both center backs. Eniemi High, who has already played 2 games. Juan Baracol, who still has yet to play, still getting his visa, as far as I remember. Leo Alfonso, who was brought in from Miami over the weekend. And then there's this rumor of midfielder Steven Alzate, who actually played for Ronnie Dyla over at Standard Liège, which is interesting. But have you had a chance to kind of look at some of these players and maybe pick out, I guess, do you think that these guys will really make a difference? Do you think that this is what Atlanta needs?
It's hard. I don't. Again, I think it is difficult for. Look, I mean, obviously, the first moves were the center backs, right? And Morales and Cobb out. I think with Cobb out, I have some Atlanta tangentially. Well, they're not tangential Atlanta fans. They're Atlanta fans. Atlanta fans who I'm friends with, who kind of out in the soccer world, but outside of the MLS season pass world. And I think there was a surprise of Cobb specifically, right? I mean, he's a homegrown youth national team player. It's kind of tough to move on from a player like that. It's a loan, right? So he could come back, but you figure if he succeeds, then that purchase option is taken up. If he doesn't succeed, well, then maybe it's that you also don't want that to happen. So I think it's hard for center backs to come in with 9 games to go, 10 games to go, whatever it is for Atlanta, 10 for Atlanta, and really like make a huge difference in turning around a season. It's more for the future, right? It's more for next year. And look, 14 points is probably insurmountable anyway, unless you just have epic collapses from, I mean, it's kind of a top 10 and a bottom 5 in the East. That seems like it'd be hard to get in there. Man, so I don't know. Leo Alfonso, that's a depth piece. That's a guy that Chris Henderson, by the way, great. I mean, Chris Henderson did not get enough credit for Miami setting the points record last year because, yes, Messi drove them there. Messi was hurt for a lot of the year, chunk of the year, but Suarez, Busquets, Jordi, Messi drove them to like the supporter shield. But there were multiple games won by Leo Alfonso, who scored a game-winning goal in Philly, down 2 men, which picks up 2 points for Miami. Yannick Bright and just how good and influential he was for Miami. I mean, those are draft picks. That's Chris Henderson. You know what I mean? Like that wasn't that's Chris Henderson. That's their scouting department that Chris was running. That was not, we joke about Lionel Messi running the team, right? And certainly when it comes to like a Rodrigo de Paul signing, of course, Messi's influence is all over that. And that network and Jorge Mas and all that. But when it came to the filling out the squad with 2 really good draft picks and Alfonso and Bright, that's Chris Henderson. And those guys were enough to put Miami from being just a supporter shield winner / contender to the best regular season of all time. But Leo Alfonso is not going to come to Atlanta and change the season, especially with Latte Lot and Jamal Charé at the 9. I mean, what are you can do? Starting. You're not going to start Leo Alfonso with the 9. You're going to continue to start Latte Lot. You have to. So I being a midfielder, I don't know much about him, but I do think that coaches having, most coaches like to have a guy that like they know, right? I mean, you look at coaches that are on their second or third jobs in this league, they will bring in players familiar with them. And I always do feel like that's important, to just kind of setting the locker room culture, and especially if it's a good player, right? That knows the coach and knows their tendencies, and not to be kind of like a mole in the locker room, but just to kind of like, help the guys understand maybe a different culture. But again, I keep coming back to it. Atlanta, and it's not even about this year, right? It's about Atlanta getting back to being Atlanta. It's going to be about the big money signings, and that's 2018. It was Joseph, it was Miggy, it was Villalba. I mean, those are the guys. And yeah, look, you had Jeff Lorenowitz and Michael Parkhurst, and again, I think those guys don't get enough credit for the balance of that roster and how you had these top end designated players that were incredible, amongst the best in the history of this league in their prime. But you also started an expansion team with real veterans of this league that knew what it was like to win in this league and played 300, 400 games. Not 400, but Reynolds might have been a 400, yeah, right? I mean, so yeah, like close to 400 games in this league. And those 2 guys, and of course, Darlington, I love Darlington, man. He's the best player in the history of this league, in my opinion. And you have Darlington in the midfield and Julian, but ultimately that team struck fear in every other MLS team because of Joseph, Miguel, and Villalba, whoever else, right, is running the show with those two specifically. And so for Atlanta United to get back to that Atlanta United that they should be, and that they have ambition to be, and that they try, right? Like they really try to be, it's going to be about the big money attackers clicking and figuring it out and getting back to what, the Atlanta had in 17 and 18 and even 19.
Yeah. And that's the intriguing part to me, because you go back to those years and you have the guys like Parkey, Lorenowitz, Nagby, and I mean, there's a handful of others, Eric Rometti, Greg Garza in 17 and 18. Like those guys, they've been around the block, and maybe not Rometti, but like they've been around the block overall. Yeah. And it has kind of felt for a while like Atlanta, they can hit on the attacking signings. I mean, $50 million. I know we're going to throw that number out so many times, but like these are not bad players. We know this. The talent's there, but it feels like there's just that key piece that's missing behind them to allow them the freedom. Parkey came on a couple of months ago on here and talked about how when he was playing for Atlanta, when you have a guy like Miggy, and he compared also Latte Lath as well, when you have those guys, those type of guys on the roster, as a defender, you do more. You run that extra, half mile a game, whatever you have to do to make it so that those attacking players, they have the freedom to operate the way that they want to operate. And I think that's maybe what fans haven't quite seen from a lot of the, the kind of rotating defenders, midfielders, to a degree, the wingbacks over the years. And now you've got a guy like we were talking about Alzate, kind of an unknown, but a guy who wants to do, or at least Ronnie Dyla says, is going to be his guy. And if that's what it takes to kind of unlock everything with this team, then I think fans are going to be pleasantly surprised. But the thing is, it has to work at this point, because it's just not been good enough.
And I totally. And to me, again, I agree with that. And obviously, that concept makes sense, but it's still like it's 29 goals scored in 24 games in MLS play, which is the bottom quarter of the league. Like that is, if they were losing games every game 3-2, with 4-3 in there, like 4-2, but they're still scoring goals, and they're towards the top third of the league in goals scored. I think then we can add some new defenders, maybe something different in the midfield, and we can really quickly figure this out, because now we can, if we go to just conceding 1 goal a game, we're winning every game 2-1, but they're not scoring goals. And so that's where I think ultimately, again, when you're built the way Atlanta is built, as they should be built, as every Atlanta supporter should be happy that they're built this way. You know what I mean? I mean, you don't want to be, you can't, there's not bad. You don't want to be the Moneyball team that wants to sit back and defend and win every game 1-0 and smash and grab and Greece at the Euros 20 years. Like, you don't want to be that. You want to be the team that's fun to watch, that's flying with great attackers. And Atlanta's trying to do that. And that piece of it, though, hasn't, for whatever reason, it hasn't clicked, which again, still to me is shocking. It's shocking. I would have thought for sure it would have worked. And maybe next year, right? I mean, maybe it's the sort of thing where these guys play together for a full year and then they come back next year, and maybe I'll click at the end of this year. Again, I do think 14 points is probably too big of a gap. You never know, but I mean, you're talking about probably having to win out at this point or close to it.
Yeah. Now, Jake, I know you probably have to go in a little bit, but before you do, we are in the spirit of Leagues Cup. We have Leagues Cup games going on right now with Monterrey and Cincinnati tied at 1. Who, in your opinion, are the favorites to win this tournament?
It's interesting because I would have put America there, but with only 1 point last night in Salt Lake, I don't know if they're going to make it out of phase 1. Just what we were talking about a few minutes ago. I don't know, because 7 points might not be enough for them. So that really complicates things and changes things. Even Columbus, same thing, right? 1 point for the Columbus Crew. So are they done? I don't know. I do think that the heavy hitters, right? if America can get through on 7 for sure. Tigres, they look good. Monterrey, this is what a great game this is against Cincinnati. Goal scorer Sergio Canales and Evander. I haven't been watching obviously, but I see, both those guys have scored. I mean, two of the best players on the continent. That's awesome. Like that. This is what Leagues Cup is about: is watching those guys play against each other. Cruz Azul, of course, they've got to be thought of as a favorite. The CONCACAF Champions Cup winners. And then on the MLS side, again, Columbus and LAFC each getting a point. That kind of downgrades them a little bit. They're last year's finalists in this tournament. Miami, yeah, look, gotta be right. Gotta be a favorite, of course. They looked okay last night, but they looked like the inevitable Inter Miami that we kind of came to know over the past, really last year, where it's like, they're going to find that goal late and they're going to win. And most other teams, it'd be a draw, go to penalty. Now they're going to find it and they're going to win. And now Rodrigo de Paul's in. So, yeah, I would throw Miami there. Cincinnati is very good. But Cincinnati has a really difficult, I think they have Monterrey, and then I think they end phase 1 with Chivas. So
Yeah.
that's where there's a Portland, Salt Lake, and Minnesota. They're 3 because there are kind of trios. There's triplets, right? So Portland, Minnesota, and RSL from MLS. The 3 teams they play are Atletico San Luis, Querétaro, and America. America, best team on the continent. Fine. But Atletico San Luis and Querétaro are not very good. And so Portland last night beat Atletico San Luis 4-0. Now they get Querétaro, who lost 4-1, I think it was, to Minnesota last night.
Yep.
And they get them in their next game at home. If Portland does something similar and they have 6 points, and say America doesn't win in America's second game, and America's like, we don't have anything to play for in this final game of the group, we can't advance. We might just rotate guys because we've got a Liga MX game coming up in a few days. Portland could get through. And then once you're through to the quarterfinals, like, you're good. So the team, what I'm saying is the phase 1 schedule is super important because of how unforgiving the format is, where you could have a team like a Minnesota, like a Portland, like a Salt Lake, who just took 2 points off America. Now they get Atletico San Luis and Querétaro. They're sitting there like, if we take care of business, we can finish on 8 points, and boom, we're through to the quarters. So that kind of the triplet, so to speak, that you're in, I think has a lot to do with it. But I don't know from the MLS side, other than, the big guns, right, of Cincinnati and Miami. And San Diego, they lost. Like, they're probably done.
And Dreyer is suspended
and Dreyer
for the second game.
For the second game, exactly. So, like, they're probably done. So it's interesting. And I don't know, maybe the Galaxy, maybe that's the story. Maybe the Galaxy are like, here we go. We're going to finally put it together for 5 games and win something, despite being all the way at the bottom of the table.
Yeah.
What a story that would be if they went, what was it, like 15 games without winning in MLS?
It'd be crazy.
They will go and win this
I think
tournament?
wasn't it? I think it's DC United that had the worst regular season of all time and won the US Open Cup that same year, which was 2012, maybe
12,
12. Yeah. Which would be just like that, and then they're in the Champions Cup next year, right?
Wow.
Giddy
The
up.
way it goes sometimes.
Yeah, sure. Well, but if you're Greg Vanney, if you're the Galaxy, you're all in. You're like 6 games away from the Champions Cup, and you don't even have to win all of them, right? You just have to not lose 3 and then win 1. And then if you get to the semis, you get 2 chances to make the Champions Cup because the 3rd place game matters.
Yep.
So why not?
And Ricky Push could be back, right?
Yeah, it'd be fun. I don't know. I think it'd be I think it'd be fun.
Yeah, Ricky Pooch would.
Oh, Ricky. Would he come back for this? I don't think so. I think that's too soon. But I don't know. I'd heard rumblings a little bit ago that he wanted to come back for their game at Miami, which is on August 16th. This was like 2 months ago, right?
Yeah.
It's like, of course, Ricky loves the spotlight, doesn't he? So of course that's the game he wants to return for. I don't know if that, I think we'd probably be hearing a little bit more kind of momentum because that game's in 16 days, 17 days. We'd probably be hearing a little more momentum towards that. At some point, if you're the Galaxy, I think I don't know. Do you shut him down? It's hard, right? Do you just shut him down and say, hey man, we'll see you next year, Yeah. Or do you want to try to get some of the cobwebs out at the end of this year in games that are not really consequential for you because you're already out of everything, and then you can hit next season sharp? It's probably up to him, to be honest. If he wants to play, he'll play.
Ease him in with some spot minutes, and then kind of get to the point. No, I'm excited about Leagues Cup. This one tonight. We do an MLS show on Monday. as well, and this Monterrey Cincinnati match, the Brandon Vasquez derby, as it were.
Yes, it is.
They've actually played. There's not many of these teams that have played against each other in
Yeah.
history with besides Leagues Cup, and so this was my match to watch for the week. And
I like that. I mean,
seemed-
if you throw Austin and Atlanta in there, and it's just the full cup, the Vasquez
Yeah.
Cup, right, with those 4 teams.
get all of them, just
Like
have the Brandon
the
Vasquez Cup.
Cascadia Cup, and they'll figure out what to call the 3 teams in Southern California. You got the Copa Tejas in Texas. Yeah.
All right, cool. We'll get you out of here. Are you? I didn't do my homework on this
All right.
part, but are you on either one of the Atlanta calls coming up?
Nope. Next game for me is Sunday Night Soccer on the 10th. So we will be in Orlando for Orlando Miami, 2 teams that Atlanta fans love. I know.
Yeah.
So you guys can all hate watch that and hope that both teams lose at Inter and Go Stadium. And though I do believe, have they announced officially that LAFC Atlanta game? I think they did, a Sunday Night Soccer on October 5th.
I think
Right,
believe it is.
time there was a slight time change, and that was announced as for Sunday
Yeah.
Night Soccer. So we'll be doing that game on October 5th. We'll have Atlanta, and then we'll see from then. The last few weeks that were always set up as flex for Sunday Night Soccer, and that has been flexed into it. So there's a possibility, but hey, go on a run, and we'll get to the Bends.
There you go. Well,
Hopefully, man.
when you get there, we will see you. Maybe we'll see you in an away match. But
Hey, man.
in the meantime, man, we appreciate you coming on. As always, it's been a pleasure.
Anytime. Great to chat.
Absolutely. Have a good one,
Take
buddy.
care.
See you,
Cheers.
Jake.
Bye.
Cool.
All right, Jake Zivin, ladies and gentlemen.
I think Jake might be in the running at this point for our most tenured guest.
How many times have we had him on? Quite a few,
I
right?
think this might have been like the 5th, maybe the 6th. There's been a couple times he's been on when I haven't been able to be on. Rotating with all of us and everything. But I always enjoy Jake hopping on, and super insightful. He knows he does his homework, and that's the thing. Like, you can ask him about any team in the league, and he knows he's up to date on everything that's going on. So always super insightful, super appreciate him, taking the time to hop on with us, especially in the middle of another match day.
Yep.
Leagues Cup right now. So, yeah, it's good stuff. He made a lot of good points.
Yeah. I think it's always interesting to have that outside, I guess, in general perspective, him having seen, a lot more of what's going on around the league and some of kind of what's going on with Atlanta from that perspective. It's always good to kind of hear his take on that, and obviously his experience as someone involved in this league for quite a while. So yeah, it's great to have his perspective and just to chat some soccer with him. I mean, he's really friendly, really nice guy to talk to. So always good having him on.
Absolutely. All right, so we've talked about the first match in Leagues Cup, and it's a quick turnaround, obviously, through the weekend, and Atlanta has to go somewhere that, I don't know. I was going to make a joke about this and say, it's their favorite place on earth, but after decision day last year, it might actually be the happiest place on earth for Atlanta United.
Conference semifinal.
Yeah. Fine. All right. But before that, there was one of the most exciting things that has happened for this team in the past 5 years. I'm just saying.
Sure.
I got hugged by Rob Valentino.
All right,
after that match. All right.
Hang your hat on that. Go ahead.
Yeah. That was the type of emotion that this team was exhibiting at that point. I want to see that all the time.
Well,
Win a
then
game.
we need Rob Valentino back.
What's that?
If you want to hug Rob Valentino all the time, you gotta have him back.
Look, it's not about hugging Rob Valentino all the time. It's just, look, you had Brad Guzan running up the ramp screaming expletives that I will not say on our show. But it was just, I mean, it was an exciting moment, and it was that moment that I feel propelled them at least to where they went in the playoffs last year.
Oh yeah, I mean, without that, they definitely don't have that memorable moment at the end where they, kick Miami out of the playoffs. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right in that sense. But Yeah, I'm not sure about it being Atlanta's favorite place. Atlanta's favorite place right now, probably the training ground where they cannot lose. I'm gonna say that because
That's fair.
not even the bends, because you're even missing out on wins there. Like, if you can't even win your home games, dude, I don't. You have no hope. Uh, and so yeah, this game, if last night wasn't a must win, this is a must win for Leagues Cup. Of course, when does this team want a must win game? Uh, but yeah, this is a must win, and also cool little factoid for you. Um, the guy who's coaching Pumas, Efrain Juarez, was Dyla's assistant at NYCFC and at Bruges. So there's a little bit of connection there. The master versus the student. The master's probably going to get curb stomped because the team hasn't won in a while. But yeah, I'm interested to see kind of that dynamic, and I'm going to ask him tomorrow. Also, I'm going to ask Dyla, like, hey, just how he feels about seeing Efrain Juarez again. By the way, Efrain Juarez left being his assistant, went to Atlético Nacional, which is my club in Colombia, and Medellin, and won 2 cups before leaving there, and now he's coaching Pumas. So he is clearly doing things right, clearly working out. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the interesting part about this entire group in Leagues Cup with Atlanta is, I mean, there are no lack of stories. Obviously, that being one of them, Atlanta's got to go down there. You have to win this game if you want any chance of trying to make it out of the phase in Leagues Cup. You have to win both at this point. And even then, it's not a lock. But you have that story, and then of course the big story is going to be coming back to Atlanta next week for Atlanta United to take on Atlas and Gonzalo Pineda for the first
You know
time.
what's funny? That game, depending on the results of these second games, that game might not even matter.
Yeah.
Like, Atlas lost against Miami. If they lose their game against Necaxa, or not Necaxa, against whoever the other MLS team is, Orlando, and Atlanta loses against Pumas, that game will not matter at all because neither of them are making it through.
Yep. Which is unfortunate because that's the kind of story that you want to have. You want it to be essentially like it was for Decision Day last year. Like, win and you make it through. And if you don't, like, you're going home. But there is a very distinct possibility that that game could just be a scrimmage, honestly, between both teams. And that would take away a lot of the cool factor from what could potentially be a really awesome game. It is what it is. At the end of the day, that's what you got coming up. You've got Pumas, who they took Orlando to penalties 1-1 and then won in penalties 4-3. So that is Atlanta's next opponent down in Orlando. And then they're back here for Atlas next week, which we'll give our opinion, or we'll give our opinions too, but our predictions. Also, in the meantime, the Premier League Summer Series will be at the Benz on Sunday. So for everybody that was asking why the heck is there grass in Mercedes-Benz Stadium that Atlanta United played on for the first time ever in the history of the club, that's the first time they played on grass inside the Benz. It is because of Premier League Summer Series. I will say, as a caveat, it wasn't the best looking grass that they've laid down. In my
It
opinion.
already looked rough.
It looked pretty rough, but it is what it is. You've got a doubleheader Sunday, and you do have tickets available if y'all want to go see some essential preseason Premier League soccer at the Benz. I went a couple of years ago as a fan, and it was a great time. Interesting fact, you know this, we talked about it last night, but so frustrating considering the way that last night went. But the Premier League Summer Series 2 years ago, when they laid down grass in the Benz, somebody was there playing in the Premier League Summer Series and scored a banger, and it, like, the entire stadium blew up.
Who was it?
Who was it? It was Miguel Almiron.
Hmm.
And I just thought last night,
He was close.
he was close a lot.
He hit the crossbar. He put it just wide. I mean, like Jake said, he pretty much hit like every space around the goal, just could not put it on target.
Yeah. So, but that's everything going on over the next essentially week with the first team, and then the twos. As I filibuster for myself here, hang on. The twos on Sunday playing Inter Miami 2, and then they're off until next Friday when they play Toronto FC 2. So a little bit coming up for them. They got kind of whooped this past weekend.
A little bit.
Was it yesterday? It was yesterday. Man, this week is weird. 3-0. So that's kind of where they're at. But all right. Pumas, what do you think? How does this one go?
Dude. 3-1 Pumas. Moving on. I literally have nothing else to say about it. I just do not trust Atlanta to win. Like, you can do it against Necaxa, you're not doing it against Pumas. So yeah, I say 3-1. Like, maybe they got a lucky goal. It might be 3-0. I mean, I don't even know, man. I've given up. Like, I do not give this team the benefit of the doubt. They are not the favorites in any game that they play, and so I cannot pick them to win.
I'm heavily concerned, and this is not being. I'm actually putting on my very neutral hat at this point for this match. I'm not being optimistic. I'm not being pessimistic. I'm just laying it out there. The fitness of this team, especially the center backs, thoroughly concerns me. Thoroughly concerns me. You had a game on Wednesday, yesterday. You had a game on Saturday. You have another game this coming Saturday, and then another game next Wednesday. You have Ronnie Dyla, who has mentioned in the past few press conferences about how the players are tired, which is kind of frustrating because it's almost the end of the season at this point. Fitness should not be an issue, and yet it is. I mentioned it on takeaways last night. Fitness and like fitness is an overall overarching term for a lot of things. We think conditioning is one thing, and then of course injuries and recovery from injuries to me is another thing. Conditioning, in my opinion, with no other variables, any given player on this team should be able to go play 90 minutes. Now, that's one game. Then you have a game 3 or 4 days later. Okay, maybe you're not able to give a full 90. You could, probably should, but that's where, fixture congestion comes in, subs come in, and all that kind of stuff. You have Stian Gregerson, who is returning from a long-term quad injury that he said the other day, was not getting better. It took longer to heal from than I think they initially thought. Derek Williams, he was on a long-term injury as well, and he's gotten thrown back into the fire. You have moved on, at least temporarily for one of them, from 2 of your young, promising center backs in Efrain Morales and Noah Cobb, which doesn't leave you with a whole lot of options besides, at this point, today on July 31st at 8:18 p.m., Enia Mihai, who has been, I think, pretty good. Like Jake said, you can't expect a center back to come in and change everything, set piece defense included. But right now, he's the only true center back on this roster that I think can give you a full 90 minutes. And that's concerning. Your other option is to play Ronald Hernandez, who has played a lot of minutes over the past few matches too, as a center back. And that experiment has typically never gone well. Or you throw in another wing back somewhere, maybe. Or you hope Better Call gets his visa between now and Saturday.
I think that's what they're banking on at this point.
I
Because
hope.
you're out of options. You don't have much depth. It's looking dire, man. And honestly, I mean, if it were up to me for this League's Cup at this point, I would have probably just called up a center back from the twos, because it's not like this is going to matter much anyways, right? It's not like, I mean, you're not going to win this game with Derek Williams and Steon Gregerson as center back after having started and almost played completely 2 games this week. You're just not going to get it. I mean, Derek Williams by the 60th minute of the game already looked dead. I'm just telling you, like he looked very, very slow, just not at the races. And that is tough when that's one of your center backs.
And
That
he was
is
slightly limping leaving out last night.
And again, that is how this team has been scored on several times. It's just long balls that they put in the space for fast attackers, and that's how they hurt Atlanta. Because neither of the center backs can get back. Well, Mihai can, because damn, he hustled to get back and defend that ball. And I think he can continue to do that. Barakal, we got to wait and see what he's like. We know that he is here in Atlanta. He was at the game last night. He does not have his visa yet. I think they're anticipating, because they had him on the Leagues Cup roster.
Yeah.
I think they're anticipating he's going to have it by this next game. And he's been training on his own, but he can't train with the team until he gets the visa. So we're going to find out. Tomorrow's going to get our first opportunity to find out if he does have it. If the timeline is similar to Mihai, he should have it by now. But yeah, I mean, you just really hope that he has his visa and that we could, even if he doesn't start tomorrow, or not tomorrow, Saturday, even if he doesn't start, you just hope that he can be there to come in the second half and relieve Derek, because by the second half, I can guarantee you he's going to be done.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. And that's where the concern comes in. And that's where it doesn't hurt you to use a call up on one of the two center backs. I mean, at this point, like you don't have anything to lose. You might as well. And then kind of, I'll give you my prediction real quick. I think because of all that, oh my God.
Let it out.
4-1 Pumas.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. I don't know that this team right now is built as it stands. I mean, obviously they're in a big transition period. I don't think this team right now going into the second game in Leagues Cup is built to do anything.
I agree with you.
At least defensively. Now, you might all of a sudden come good in the attack with your 3-man attackers and your other pieces, and maybe you make it a shootout, but recent history has not shown us that that's going to be the case either. So you've figured out a way, Atlanta's figured out a way to dink in a goal in the past few matches, but I don't see all of a sudden it just coming good and them unleashing the proverbial hell upon Pumas in the attack. But even if they did, I don't think that they're going to be able to defend for 90 minutes. So because of that, yeah, I'm saying 4-1 Pumas.
None of this really matters, Tyler. The season's gone anyways. This team's definitely not winning Leagues Cup. We're here just to see the kids and the new signings. Yeah. What is the meaning of life at this point?
The meaning of life is you just believe until you can't anymore. And then it's over. I don't know.
Dang, wise words from Tyler.
Yeah. Here's your inspirational quote for the day. Go have a drink. Y'all do need to go check out scarvesandspikes.com. We have and I put it in the chat earlier. I'll put it in there again while we're at it. We have a transfer tracker going on to keep track of all the stuff that's going on with Atlanta this summer transfer window. Also, tons of articles going up. We'll have the ones from Saturday against Pumas. We'll have the Premier League Summer Series stuff that we're going to be putting up as well. And of course, whatever happens against Atlas. So if y'all haven't kind of been a part of the website, go check it out. You can also get involved with the chats on there. Every game day, every match day, we have a match threads article where, you can hop in, chat with other people. And then of course our Discord is a part of our Patreon membership. If you haven't got on that, it's patreon.com/scarvesandspikes. Hop in, and just the basic tier gets you in the Discord and our watch alongs. So you can hop in, dive into the chat, dive into all the channels that we have going on there. We have obviously lots of different soccer channels related to different leagues, obviously MLS being primary, but we have, there's video game chat in there. We play, Call of Duty, a lot of folks are playing rematch right now, and every other Atlanta sport. I know that was wild, huh? I see your face, and you're like, would you like to explain what just happened?
Yeah, so I have the Cincinnati game on my TV, and they just scored an amazing goal, but I think it got called off for offside.
Yeah. So no, scarvesandspikes.com. Go check it out. We have the transfer tracker. I reported last week that this week was going to be busy. It started off with Afonso, and then it moved to the Luis Abram buyout. And now we're just kind of waiting because the one other rumor that's popped up that I fully expect to be done within the next day or two, whether it gets announced, I don't know. But I would imagine that's going to be Steven Alzate, I think. So
Hopefully.
hopefully, because I think if you get him in, maybe not Leagues Cup related, but the final stretch of the season, you get him in to pair with Slish, and maybe you've got something else cooking in the midfield that could hopefully help open up the attack, or at minimum solidify the defense so the attack can at least go try to do something.
I just want a reason to believe that this team can be decent. I just want to see that there is reason for optimism going into 2026. Because last season, the reason for optimism was, oh, look, they got their crap together and they got into the playoffs and then they beat Miami. So surely they're decent. Oh, look, they're adding 2 DPs, a new coach, and one of the best executives in MLS. Surely this is going to be a great season. No. So look, this time around, we have a lot of changes happening in the summer. We know there are a lot of changes that are going to happen in the winter because we had a lot of contracts expiring. So we're going to be on the lookout for that. But we really need to see that the signings that they're making now in this window that are supposed to be the foundation for long-term future change, we need to see that they do click. That is not offside, by the way. We need to make sure that that clicks and that it's a sound foundation. And then that once we see that these guys work and that they come back from preseason and they're still working, because that's a phenomenon too.
That's key.
With the new guys and with the guys that have already been established, then I think we could start to feel good about this team again. But for right now, I just want to see that these guys come in and help this team play better soccer and hold on to results and hold their nerve.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. Brian kind of, summarizing the season. They look decent in the first half. No complete match this season. 100%. There has not been a 90-minute performance from this team all season. So we'll see.
It's a goal.
Hey, let's go.
It's a beautiful goal, by the way, too. If y'all aren't watching this game, because y'all are watching me while I'm watching this stupid game. But it was
y'all
a beautiful,
are real people. Y'all are awesome. The fact that you're here instead of watching a good team play soccer. That's what's up.
Holy crap. So Luca Oriano, he's at the edge of the box. And this feels like a Luke Brendan pass, by the way. Or actually, well, the pass itself is more of an Alexei Moranchuk pass. But the position that Orejano was in, it reminds me of spaces that Brendan occupies. But basically, passes it back to Evander, who plays a really, really perfect through ball in for Orejano, who makes that run immediately after releasing the pass. It's amazing. And it's plays that you're like, why doesn't Atlanta do this?
Yeah, because it's there. The ingredients are there. They're just not getting put together the right way. Anyway, that summarizes the season. Not to leave this on a negative note, but that is where we're at. Maybe Atlanta can do something this weekend against Pumas to give themselves a chance in Leagues Cup. We'll see. But we'll be back Saturday. You'll go check out, again, the website. Join the Patreon, patreon.com/scarvesandspikes. It helps us a lot, but lots of great content that goes up on Patreon. Again, $5, $10 tiers get you extra stuff as well. So definitely go hop in. And we'll be there for the pre-match show an hour before kickoff on Saturday. We will have some stuff for you from the bins on Sunday with the summer series. And then we will be back. Man, this is a wild week. We'll be back for MLS Monday on Monday.
Monday.
We'll be talking a lot of Leagues Cup. Yeah, on Monday. So yeah, lots of stuff coming up.
Yep.
And with that,
Anyway.
I missed my cue. There we go. Oh no, it didn't do it.
Well, you messed it up again.
Do it again. There we go. You were talking and it muted you.
Oh, well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
We'll never know what I just said.
It's okay. Missed opportunities, just like this.
Just like Atlanta United. Anyway, thanks for watching, y'all.
Peace, y'all. It's been fun. And shout out to Jake Zivin for hopping on.
Heck yeah.
It's been a good chat. Our self-admitted personal therapist for Atlanta United fans.
Everyone, just like he says, everyone comes on and is our therapist.
Yeah.
But yeah, at least we got some fun soccer in the Bends on Sunday. I feel like those 2 Premier League Summer Series games are going to be fun.
I agree. That will be a good time. All right, y'all.